Assalamu alaikum, my dear brothers and sisters. Today I would like to talk about verse number 11 of Surah Al-Hujurat. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا يسخر قوم من قوم عسى أن يكونوا خيرا منهم ولا نساء من نساء عسى أن يكن خيرا منهن ولا تلمزوا أنفسكم ولا تنابزوا بالألقاب بئس الاسم الفسوق بعد الإيمان ومن لم يتب فأولئك هم الظالمون. O believers, do not let some men ridicule others. They may be better than them, nor let some women ridicule other women. They may be better than them. Do not defame one another, nor call each other by offensive nicknames. How evil it is to act rebelliously after having faith, and whoever does not repent, it is they who are the true wrongdoers. So it means that calling others with bad nicknames is a sinful act. And the real bad names for a person after embracing faith is that he is known among people for sinful acts. Therefore, if a Muslim commits the sin of calling others with bad nicknames and it is known among people, then the real bad names is earned by the person himself and not by the person whom he has abused with that nicknames. Prohibition of ridiculing one another. The beginning part of this chapter laid down the Prophet's Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam Khatamun Nabiyyin rights and the etiquettes to be observed when dealing with him. Then the Holy Quran has started mentioning the mutual rights and good manners for the general body of Muslim to be observed among themselves. The injunction laid down in the preceding two verses related to the collective reformation of the society. Now the current verse mentions the rights and etiquettes to be observed between individuals. This the verse prohibits three social evils: ridiculing one another, finding fault with one another, and revealing one another with nicknames. According to Qurtubi, mocking does not only connote smoking with the tongue, but it also implies mimicking someone, making pointed reference to him, laughing at his words, his works, his appearance, his dress, or calling people's attention to some of his defects so that they might laugh at him. Mocking includes all of this. By the clear text of Quran, poking fun at someone or ridiculing him is absolutely forbidden. Stylistically, the Quran has, on this occasion, addressed men and women separately. Men are referred to as a qawm, a word that is specifically reserved for male members of the human society. Though by extension, the word most often includes the female members of the human society as well. The Quran, however, generally employs the word qawm for both men and women. But here it is specifically used for men in the contradistinction to the word nisa, which specifically refers to women. Here both men and women are reminded that mocking one another is a disdainful and evil act. They must refrain from it, because it is likely that the man who is mocked at may be better than the mocking person, and the woman who is mocked at may be better than the mocker. Here the Quran prohibits men from mocking other men and women from mocking other women. This, however, does not mean that it is permitted for men to mock at women or for women to mock at men. The actual reason for making separate mention of the two men and women is that in Islam does not allow free interaction of the two male and women or free intermingling of the two, and ridiculing each other generally occurs where there is such an interaction, intermingling. Therefore, in a Muslim society, it is inconceivable that men would mock a woman or women would mock a man, and an intermingling situation. In short, no one dare make mockery of a person whose body, face, shape are defective, imperfect, impaired, or deformed, because he does not know that the other person in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might be better than him on account of his sincerity, his purity of heart. When the righteous predecessor heard this verse, they adopted a conducive attitude. For example, Sayyidina Amar ibn Surabil said that he would not laugh at a person when he sees him drink milk dark from the under of a goat, lest he should become one like him. And similarly, Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Masud radiallahu anhu said, I would not like to saw at a dog, lest I be metamorphosed into a dog. Qurtubi. It is recorded in Sahih of Muslim on the authority of Sayyidina Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu that the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not look at your faces and your wealth. He looks at your hearts and your works. And Qurtubi derives a legal maximum from the tradition of the Holy Prophet ﷺ that in any matter it is not proper to pass a categorical judgment on the basis of overt evidence or circumstances, because it is possible that the person or actions might seem to be good, but in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, on account of the insincerity and purity of his heart, they could be bad. And he is fully aware of the inner state of the people's hearts. Innahu alimun bidhati sudur, as mentioned in the Quran. On the contrary, a person whose actions might seem to be to us bad, but in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, on account of his sincerity and purity of his heart, they could serve as an expression of the bad action, as he is fully aware of the inner state of the people's hearts. The next thing that is prohibited in this word is lams, which connotes to find fault with someone or upbraid him. The word says, وَلَا تَلْمِزُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. Literally, it means do not find fault with yourselves. But the intention is do not find fault with one another. As seen in the translation above, the expression is similar to the expression وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ, and do not kill yourselves. Although the verse commands do not kill yourselves, it purports to say do not kill one another. The expression indicates that from one point of view, killing another person amounts to killing oneself. Often it happens that if a person kills another person, the victim's supporter killed the murderer. Even if this does not happen, a Muslim is the brother of another Muslim, and killing one's brother is like killing oneself and rendering oneself crippled, helpless, and powerless. And similarly, the expression وَلَا تَلْمِزُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ and not find fault with yourselves means when you find faults with others and upbraid them, others will find fault with you and upbraid you because no man is normally free from any fault. And scholars have formulated the maximum. You have faults and the people have eyes with which they see them. Thus, if someone seek out the imperfection of some other person and broadcast them, the latter will do the same in return. If, however, he exercises patience and evades retaliation to his verbal attacks, it's come down to the same thing. If one considers carefully, he will find that defaming and despising one's Muslim brother is actually casting aspiration on oneself. So scholars have suggested that the situation, the satisfaction, well-being, and happiness of man lies in examining his own faults and finding ways of mending them. This approach to life will give him no time to find fault with others and broadcast it. How well is this approach? So, my dear brothers and sisters, it is very important to look at our own faults instead of looking to the faults of other people. And this is the way to improve ourselves. The third thing that is prohibited in this verse is revealing one another with nicknames which are offensive to them. For example, calling a person lamb, hands, cropped, blind, or one-eyed, or referring to him by other offensive nickname. Sayyidina Abu Jubairiya Ansari says, this verse, radiallahu anhu says, this verse was revealed in connection with us. When we migrated to Medina, most of us had 2 or 3 names. Some of them were popularized in order to denigrate, defame, or belittle the bearer of the name. The Holy Prophet ﷺ, Khatamun Nabiyyin, was not aware of this situation. It is as a result, he sometimes called them by one of these offensive names, unwittingly. The noble companions informed the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, Khatamun Nabiyyin, that the names offends the bearer of the name of that name. This verse was revealed on that occasion. Sayyidina Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu says, the prohibition of وَلَا تَنَابَذُوا بِالْأَلْقَابِ means that if a person committed a sin or performed an evil deed from which he repented and mended his ways, it is unlawful for anyone to call him by denigrating names such as thief or an adulterer, etc. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is reported to have said, anyone who denigrates a Muslim who has committed a sin of which he has repented, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes it upon himself that he will get the person to commit the very same sin and expose him to embarrassment and humiliation in this world and the hereafter. Exception to the rule. There are some nicknames which, though apparently offensive, are not intended to defame or insult the bearer of the name, of that name, but they rather serve as a symbol of identification. This is why scholars have permitted to attach titles to the names of the traditionalists, like provided that they are not intended to insult, defame. For example, the Holy Prophet ﷺ, Khatamun Nabiyyin, himself named a companion, one of the companion, because his hands were relatively long. And Abdullah ibn Mubarak was posed the question, we come across names to which are attached title like Hamid al-Tawil, Hamid the Tall, Suleiman al-Amash, Suleiman the Weak-Eyed, Marwan al-Asfar, Marwan the Yellow. Are these titles allowed? He replied, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if your intention is not to insult or defame, but rather to complete identification, it is permitted then. Hurtabi. It is sunnah to call people by good titles. So now the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Khatamun Nabiyyin, is reported to have said that it is the right of the believer to call to call his fellow believers by good names and titles which they like the best. Therefore, the use of ignomen, cognomen had become commonplace in Arabia. The Holy Prophet ﷺ, Khatamun Nabiyyin, also favored this, and consequently, he himself given name titles to some of the individual companions. For example, Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu received the title of Siddiq. Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the title of Faruq, means distinguishes truth from falsehood. And Sayyidina Hamza, the title of Asadullah, the line of Allah, and Khalid ibn Walid, the title of Saifullah, the sword of Allah. So, my dear brothers, we have briefly discussed in this verse that calling someone with offensive nicknames is totally prohibited, and finding faults of other people is also prohibited. It is recommended to work on our own faults and to improve that. And lastly, calling with someone with the names that do not defame them or disrespect them, and the intention is good, then it is permitted to call the people with those names. And as a sunnah, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam given titles to the companions, as we mentioned. So thank you very much, my dear brothers, and the next lecture we will talk about the next coming ayah, verse number 12. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.